Homey Dashboards is a brand new feature that you can use today in the Homey app, and it allows you to make control pages for your smart home. See things like the weather, your calendar. Of course, you can control things like your speakers and your lighting and your thermostat, and there's much more. So today, I'm going to show you how to build dashboards just like this. I'll show you how to customize them, and I'll even show you some custom apps that have been built specifically for using this new feature. Later on in the video, I'll talk a little bit about the architecture of dashboards and how I suggest you build a set of dashboards for your own home. For now, let's learn how to build these. Let's give her. Hello Automators, thanks for tuning in again. I'm Brian from Automate Your Life, and my goal on the channel is to save you time and money on your journey to live smarter. So hit the subscribe button now for more tutorials like this. There's always a few requirements, and for Homey Dashboards, that's true too. The first one is what you have to have in your home. So if you purchased a Homey Pro hub from the early 2023 release, which looks like this one, then you'll have access to dashboards in the app now. For older Pro Hub purchasers, the ones created between 2016 and 2019, you'll have a £25 fee to get access to this. It looks like Cloud subscribers for kind of the Homey app and that basic subscription will have access to this, but I always recommend that you get a hub because the big power between Homey is local smart home control. After that, you just need a phone with the Homey app on it or a tablet, and I'll be using an iPad today and an Android phone to demonstrate how you can build and customize these dashboards. I don't want any of you to be lost by any of the terminology I use today. There's a few terms that I have to define. A dashboard is a set of screens. They can be used to control or view information, and in Homey's app, they can have many pages, both vertically and horizontally. Today, Homey's system uses an app store to allow you to install new features on your hub. In a lot of cases, we use those apps to allow us to connect a smart device to our hub. However, because of dashboards, we have a brand new reason to look for and to install apps on our hubs. The new reason is called a widget. And every time we add something to a dashboard, we are adding a widget. Therefore, when you look at the apps in the Homey App Store, you'll find a new category of features for that app called widgets. Not every app, and in fact most apps today, will not have widgets available on them. However, you'll see later in today's video that there are some specific apps that only have widgets and are not being used for anything except these dashboards. This is an exciting new feature. There's a lot of great developers on Homey's forum boards building great apps specifically for these. So give those people some love in the comments below, and hey, why don't you also mention the type of widget that you'd be looking for to put on your own dashboards. I'll be sharing the results of your comments with Homey. Now that you understand all of that, let's start building our first dashboard. The first thing to know is how to access it. So on a tablet, you're going to find now 5 tabs. Okay, if you don't have access to a dashboards tab, that might mean that you have to update your app. And some people, I know there's a one-time cost for dashboards if you have an older hub. If you're using a phone, things are a little different. So you see there's no tab in my app. Don't panic about that. Hit the More button, head to Dashboards. This is where you can create new dashboards at any time on either. And understand that when you create a new dashboard, that does not mean it's stuck on this device. It can be transferred to either device. So I can access my kitchen, here it is, and I can access my kitchen on this one too. Creating new dashboards, very simple by hitting that plus button, adding widgets. Now there's kind of 2 different sets of widgets. There's the ones that you get through the Homey app. These are pre-built. This is what the Homey team has added. And then there are the apps that you've added. And these sometimes have custom widget components. Okay, and when they have a widget component, that's what's showing up here. So a good example of that is Flow Checker here. It's a very useful thing. I'll show you that in a bit. Widget board. This is a great application with a lot of different widget components, very customizable things, and even clocks. Now, your favorite apps that are official integrations with Homey, I think we're going to see a lot of them producing new and different widgets, but a lot of what you're going to use is here. So I'll go quickly between the different types and what they do. The first type is devices. If you've set favorites, you can grab all of your favorites from the app and throw it on the dashboard. A zone, so that's a room. You can add that, and then you can actually add the sub zone. So if I was to choose home, you can see I can choose sub zones. Very useful there. The selection one is the one I've found the most use in because I'm not perfectly organized in my smart home. This allows you to select specific devices. So if I just wanted to control, let's say, my router in my home, I can add that widget just like that. Now, anytime you add something, you can then edit it. You can add a widget above, below. You can replace the widget if you don't like what's going on. And of course, you can remove it. You can also, while you're in editing mode, grab it and move it. But there you go. There's your first device. Now, flows, same thing. We have favorite flows in the app, and we can select specific ones. One of the ones I set up was an advanced Christmas. Even if you trigger that normally at a time of day or something like that, this becomes something you can just press on that little play button and it runs that flow. When you're done the dashboard, we'll just call this one test, you hit done, and you can see that things kind of format a little nicer. And you can always go back and edit. Now with any of these, okay, when we edit a widget, we don't necessarily need the title. Okay, I don't think a lot of these need the titles. You're gonna kind of know what's going on, and look how much tighter it packs things together. I really like that, and now I can run my advanced Christmas, and I can long hold on any of these buttons. The next type is moods. Moods allow you to set a number of your lights into a specific mode. So, one of the ones that I've been using quite a bit is my nothing, which turns off all my lights. Okay, but maybe I want to play some games. I want to add in a few of these. Again, I can have a title or not, and then I add. Now, of course, I can add widgets on the right. Speakers. This is a great one. If you have Sonos speakers, if you have Amazon speakers integrated, this is one of my Sonos ones. You can add a small or a large widget for controlling that speaker. And just to show you, these ones, okay, there, I've turned my kitchen into night mode, and now I've just turned on my speaker. So very, very powerful. I can hear it up there. I'm gonna just pause it there. So, you can't go in, you're not getting a title right now. It does take time to update in some cases, but let me show you something here. And this is maybe where you'll want to test a few things. So I'm just going to add my Sonos speaker to my set of devices. Now it's sitting there, and now I have started play on that speaker. You can see it took a second to update there, but there it is. And now I can go in and I get this full display. So depending on how you want to build your dashboard, you might use a different player. Next up are single or simple light controls. So if you want to control all for a zone, let's say, you can select a zone. Let's say I wanted to control all the lights here in the basement. I can again include subzones. If I'd like, I can hit add, and now I have all of those lights available. You can see there's 23 lights in the basement. Well, what if I don't include those subzones? Now I just have one light in the basement. Simple control, you tap on that and you scroll along for the brightness. For those of you who have a smart thermostat, very easy to add one. And you know, a great example here, I got a thermostat on my fridge. So that's a lot of fun. I can actually adjust that right there. Great little widget for thermostats. There's other ones, and I'm sure other companies are going to build additional ones. Now, one of the best features of this are the insights. You can force dark mode into these, which I think look really nice. And now you have to select an insight. There's so much in here. Great example is I can look at the loading on my Homey CPU, okay? And you can select the hour, 6 hours, the last 7 days, this week, for example. Then you add the widget, and again, you can add in titles and things like that. So really neat stuff with the insights. You can build entire dashboards with insights, and I think a lot of people will. Logic is going to be dependent on how much you use variables and what you're using them for. Now, for example, if you're tracking what the weather is, I don't think you need to do that anymore because we have some of those custom widgets, but things like that can be displayed. You can display the value of them. Cameras, this one has a little bit of updating to be done, in my opinion. So I can grab one of my cameras. There's not a lot of cameras that can be integrated into Homey right now. And then I get a snapshot and I get a little refresh button right there. And I think, you know, it's important to note that certain of these things, like I can tap into that and now I can control those devices. So lots of this stuff you're going to be able to go in, control, and do tons with. One of the best features, I think, for all of these dashboards are low batteries. That is a simple addition. I can see the battery is low for that device and I'm done. And it'll show me all of the low battery devices. Of course, we have weather. I can get the forecast if I'd like. It's a little cold out there and it has been snowing all day. Family and guests. So these are the users you've set up. And actually, I have devices that are people, and I'll show you that here in a little bit. There's also the timeline. I think this is a really great addition. You can choose which categories to show. For example, you might not care to see on specific pages that you have backups and updates and Google services stuff going on, right? And I think those kinds of things will be eliminated on a lot of these, and then you just hit add widget. So really tailor that one to what's going on your specific dashboard. Just one additional one, but this is one of the most complex. It doesn't look complex, but this one can do a lot. And this is actually how I added my calendar. Now I'll show you the first step of that. That's the first step. I just added myaccount.google.com and now I can hit add widget. And it will actually bring up that web frame, okay? There are some additional options for this. So for example, I can enable scrolling through the page and I can start the position in a different spot. Just gonna remove that one so we don't have to have the blur on the page. Now, before we go on to the next part, I just want to show you that you can swipe to the right. You can add things as you go here, left and right, as well as up and down. So there is quite a bit of real estate. You will need to kind of fill up the 2 columns before going to the next column, but this just continues. And for example, I have 6 columns in my kitchen. And now this is where we can get into some of these additional apps. For that, I want to show you first how you find out if an app that you're going to install on your Homey system has widgets and how to break that down really quickly. As I said at the start of today's video, there are some apps in the Homey App Store that have been built with widget features. They aren't actually built to bring in any smart home devices, but they do give you new options inside of the dashboard building section of Homey. So I'm going to show you how to filter by these apps, because this type of app is going to expand quite a bit. When you go to Homey's site, they have a menu option for apps. Inside of there, you're going to pick whether you're a Homey or a Homey Pro user, and then you can search for apps. But before you search, there are a number of categories and technology filters on the left-hand side. Below that is an additional filter that lets you choose only apps that have widgets. If you check that, you'll get every app with any widget available today, whether they have other components to them or not. Doesn't matter, but then you can additionally filter using categories and technologies. Now, let me show you a few of the ones that I installed and then I thought were really good. Now, I'm sure there's more, and I'd love to hear what you've installed on your hub. Please let me know in the comments. I installed Widget Board, which is just for widgets. It has a number of clocks, a calendar, and even a mini information bar that I really enjoyed. I also installed the Clocks app, Trash Can Reminder 2.0, which is so helpful for me. The gallery feature to display pictures, Flow Checker, a great diagnostic tool, the enhanced device widget, which I think is maybe the most useful widget available today, something called Widgie, which has a wonderful notepad option, and Zone Activity, which I think is essential for anybody who uses Homey for a security system. There are more out there, including things like WhatsApp, if you use that to communicate with people. And I'm sure I'm missing a few myself. But now that we have these apps installed on our hub, let me show you what you can do with lots of them. So now that we have some of these apps ready to go, let's add some of the most useful ones. I think the sticky note is one of the best ones to just get added. You can do a drawing mode here on iOS devices, so just keep that in mind. If you want to use an iPad, that's probably going to work. You can make some adjustments and then add that widget to this page. The notes do come across from other dashboards and other devices, so there's good synchronization on a device like this. Okay, so I'm just going to add that. But you will see that you have to go out and come back in for something like that. So if you want to see the latest notes, that is kind of an important thing. I do wish that we could get some basic refreshes of things on these dashboards. Another type from them is a vertical spacer. So this just gives you some space on the page. Kind of a nice addition in some cases if you want to get things aligned. And they do have an analog clock, but you know, just the Clocks app here. This one, you know, I really like this one, these digital versions. So that's a great opportunity for you to display a really neat looking clock. That's my favorite one. There are some round ones and some other analog ones, but yeah, that's my favorite. Now the widget board has a basic calendar. You can add that in. You just be able to see the date from something like that. And then again, they have a couple of clocks if you want those. They have a little mini info bar. You can set the temperature unit, and that's a great little addition. I think that works a lot better than the big clocks. So you have some options from these different makers. Now there's the International Space Station tracker, the sun in your area, and this is all related to the location that you have inside of Homey's app. So that's actually a setting in the More page. Of course, you have another weather forecast, but now we can get into some of those additional utilities. So these are some of my favorite. These are additional utilities. And the enhanced device widget, I think this is one of the most useful apps that I've installed on Homey. And we can just search for our device. You can either type in a search at the top, or you can just go searching for it. I'm gonna bring up, for example, my router. And there's an edit mode where you can remove little things. You can decide to turn that on or off. You can make it read only, and you can make the layout a little more dense if you'd like. So just tighten things up a few times if you want. Look at this. I have the IP address. I can see how many connected clients are to this one. Those are wired clients, so just keep that in mind. It's not showing the Wi-Fi ones. That's a problem with the device, not with this app. But it is showing me things like CPU usage, memory usage, all of these kinds of things. And again, I can edit. So if there's something I don't want to see on the page, for example, I can put it into that edit mode. Let's say I didn't want to see the IP address. I just uncheck that and now it's gone. And if I want to get rid of that edit button, I just edit the widget. And now I turn that off. And now I have this really nice interface for me to control that. If I want to reboot the device, I can go ahead and do that. So I love that application. You can add those all over your home. It was really useful for my fridge, for example, and it just gives you that full device breakdown. I'm not going to show you the Flow Utilities one. I haven't set that one up in my own home, but I am going to show you Flow Checker. This is a great diagnostic tool for you. Again, you get the title and you get a number of different things that you can show. Okay, so you can turn these off if you don't like certain ones, but just adding this widget is going to give you a ton of diagnostic information for your flows. So if you have any that are broken, right there, they're going to show up. Flows with a broken variable. That I've got a problem. I've got to deal with that. So I really love getting that on kind of a diagnostic screen. This is something, you know, people might want to display something within a server in their home. I'm not using this for myself. If you upload pictures, there is a gallery option for you. So you've got to upload these pictures to the Homey app, and then you can add that slideshow component. There are some preloaded ones for you there. Now you have to manage the pictures in the actual app. So here's the gallery. You can go into settings, and then there are app settings. And this is where you can add in your different pictures, just upload them from your phone. Trash can reminder, one of my personal favorites because I can never figure out what's going on around my home. The layout you can set, a compact one. You can set how high you want to allow it to be so it can expand out if you'd like. And then what you have to do is set the different things that you want to show on this. So we don't really have a plastic cleanup, so to speak. The paper is what I kind of call my recycling. Depending on how you're doing things, you can set up this widget. Now this does take, again, a little bit of management. So here's trash can reminder in my list of apps. And I go into the app settings. And what's really nice about this is, you know, in a couple of countries, you have to be in those countries, you can just put in your postal code, your house, and it'll pull in what the dates are. But you have this manual input option. So you just have to configure this every other week on Sunday, starting on this date. That's my organic bin pickup, okay? And I set up bulky waste, and I set up my paper, which I call recycling. And then down below, I have tomorrow. I've selected tomorrow. You can select today, the day after tomorrow, etc. Organics bin, and I put that bin in, okay? They give you whatever you want. So I changed paper to recycling, and that's the other format. Okay, so you have these options. These are in the reminders and things like that, but you can just customize all of how this looks on your page. There's a WhatsApp one, and I really like the zone activity one. You can select which zones you want. You can start from whatever. So if I have something here in the basement, I can show all of those as an activity list. And so now these are all the different zones that I have in the basement and whether they're active. I haven't moved around here much, so they're not active at the moment. So those are all of the apps that I want to show you today. Today I have 4 dashboards, and I'm going to be building a lot more throughout my home. But the way I've done this is kind of twofold. And I used to build what are called HMIs for a living. So I'm trying to give you a little bit of insight into that past life. Now, in something like the kitchen, I think that is a place that you will have a dedicated dashboard. And depending on the format of the device you're going to put in there, you might have a different priority. But for me, the main page for the space that this tablet is now going to sit in indefinitely, that has some of the very basic controls for that space. These are the different things I want to do every day. You know, I'm going to cook every day. I've got the simple control just for the lights, so if they're a little too bright that day, okay, there I go. I've also got all my main appliances and things like my blinds and shades. So I want a little more light in the space, there I go. Temperature, thermostat, things like that. I think those big things are on the main page. Now for me, I'm actually feeling like this needs to move over to here. I don't necessarily need to see this. I think that goes on a different page. But the basic things that you're going to be looking at on a daily basis, I think they're on that main page. Second page, admittedly, is not exactly where I want it to be. I just kind of wanted to show you guys these widgets, but this is probably not going to sit here. I'm not really in love with that clock. Things like the smart soil sensor, I want to see details on my plants around the kitchen. And so I'm going to put some slightly more detailed controls and information for my kitchen around there. Things that I won't necessarily want to see every day, but I want to check on my plants, for example, and I want to see where people are throughout the home on my zone activity list. Now over to the right, so as we continue to swipe, I'm going to get more and more detailed about specific things. This is that enhanced device display. And so I still have the edit mode because I haven't decided what I want to keep on here. But this is letting me adjust things like the target temperature in my fridge. I can adjust the amount of ice we make. So for example, now I'm making 3 of the craft ice balls in that fridge every day. And then I have the insights to those things. So for example, the food poisoning index, I want to pay attention to that. I want to get that to a better spot. So I've been paying attention to that insight. Clearly I've got to change that one out. So those detailed pages are going to be a little bit buried, and I am doing specific pages for things like my fridge. The second aspect, or the second layer to this, are the situational dashboards. You might not have these up all the time. For example, home security. I kind of built this little home security tab. I still got to build this out. Obviously, I've got all my zone activity list. I can adjust my security system. This is Heimdall. I can arm the system on my way out the door. This is something I would put on a tablet at the front of the house at any of the entry points. And obviously I've got like a thermostat, so I've got an air conditioner in the home. I can adjust that. I want to see cameras, things like that in my home. As kind of the person who manages a lot of this home, I've built an admin panel. These don't have security on them yet, and I think we will eventually get to a point where Homey Dashboards have security on them, but this is allowing me to track things like the variables. It's showing me low batteries. It's showing me who's at home again, and the things like valves and big items. Then I have a full timeline so I can see what's going on around the home, and flow checker. And I'm going to be adding things like my routers to this so I can quickly reboot my whole Wi-Fi system. You might have a few specific flows and things like that that you add to a page like that, but that's very situational. And the final dashboard type is on the main page of all of these devices. So your home screen is actually, again, an adjustable dashboard. So you can customize this fully. For each person's phone, you have a front page dashboard. If you don't want this timeline here, remove that widget. If you want to see snapshots of your cameras, there you go. If you want to add additional things, you have access to everything we've talked about today. So this main page becomes a personalized dashboard for each person, what they do on a regular basis. And that's why I think you end up with room or zone and some other situational type of dashboards within the Homey system. That's how I'm going to be building it out. Going beyond that, we're going to run into some pretty complicated or complex things to add to our dashboards. So this is where I'm going to create tutorials that you guys tell me you want to see. I'd already been told that we needed a tutorial for adding personal calendars to Homey's dashboards, and I got one right there. So I've gone ahead and I've done that. You could check that video out up there. So if you want to add your personal Google Calendar to these dashboards, and you want to see how you can restrict access to it, you can do that there. Otherwise, thanks for watching today, and of course, live smart.